Now, recently, the Daily Beast wrote a piece about how some researchers in Europe believe that the majority of art that's out on the market right now isn't actually real. A lot of it is fake.
Yes!
Okay.
Yes.
I knew it!
Knew it.
And people are spending hundreds of thousands, and in a lot of cases, millions of dollars on these pieces that they believe have been painted by Picasso, for instance. But in reality, they're just complete fakes. All right. Yann Walther is one of the individuals who works for the Fine Arts Institute in Geneva. He's the executive director. And he's one of the people who says, look, we come across a lot of artwork that people are curious about. They're wondering whether or not what they purchased is real. And he says that up to 70% of what they examine actually turns out to be fake. 70% of artworks for sale are either fakes or misattributions. Now, let me tell you how this sample is not necessarily representative, right? Here's what he had to say. People who come to us often already have a question about the authenticity of the work. So this does not mean that on the market, 70 to 90% of the work is fake. So
That's very important,
Yeah,
to be fair. Okay. So they're already worried that it's a fake. And then if you're worried, it looks like there's an overwhelming chance it is fake, right? So now, nonetheless, there are still a significant percentage of art out there that is fake. Now, it's different than a forgery. A forgery is like, I tried to trick you into thinking it was a Picasso or fake. Could be someone else painted a Picasso at that time. In fact, it turns out some artists would have contemporary artists come in and make multiple copies to put into other people's houses and stuff, so which I didn't know about.
Yeah, can I read to you a little bit about that? Because I thought that that was really fascinating. A lot of these artists, you know, want to give their artwork to friends and family members, so they'll have duplicates made by other artists. According to the Daily Beast, fascinating, right?
Yeah.
In centuries past, it was absolutely normal for an owner of a fine painting to have a competent artist come and make one or more copies, which they would then hang at a different house if they had several houses, or give to a relative or a friend. And if they sold a valuable picture, they would always have a copy made. So a lot of these things are just copies, right?
Well, and that makes sense, though. You do the same thing with a photograph. You're not always going to give out the original. You're going to make a copy, and they still have the picture, but it's not the original.
Yeah.
So that goes to one of my main complaints about art, that it's a lot about puffery and ego. Because if it's the same painting, why do you care that the guy named Picasso painted it, or his buddy who was just as competent in terms of making that same picture? I know that he didn't have the creativity, etc., but that creativity is put onto that canvas anyway. So the only reason that you're paying the extra $1 million, because if Picasso didn't actually do it, it's worthless. Okay? So it's either worth $100 million or it's worth nothing. So what you're saying is, it's not the intrinsic value of me looking at that painting, me enjoying the creativity, me enjoying that painting. It's me being able to say, I have a Picasso.
That's a huge part of it. There's no question about that. But here's another very pretentious element in the art world that I was completely unaware of. So when it comes to making sure something is authentic, you have two groups of people, okay? You have art experts who literally just look at the artwork and then through taking a look at the brush strokes or whatever, make a decision as to whether or not that piece is authentic, just by looking at it, right? And then you have scientists who actually date test materials to figure out whether or not the product is, or the painting or the piece of art is authentic. And those two communities are constantly battling one another because the art experts feel as though their intelligence is being questioned, right?
By science. People hate when they're being questioned by science.
I know,
it's shocking that I'm going to go ahead and take the side of science again. Right?
But there's
but there is a connection here between the religious people who hate science and the art experts who hate science. One is trying to cover up facts, right? They do, and in the art world, it's almost like a faith-based community, because they say like, I'm not going to tell you what the artist meant by that. It's in the eye of the beholder, and what did you get out of it? So it's all based on faith. Like, there is no intrinsic value to that art. It's only the value that you put on it through the faith that you have that he meant something beautiful and creative and lovely, etc., right? So once you leave reason behind, whether it's religion or art, yeah, of course, the scam artists come pouring in. Oh, yes, of course, I speak for God. Oh, of course, I can tell you that art is wonderful. It's the greatest thing ever. You should pay $100 million for it. And you don't need science to say if it's true or not. I tell you it's true.
Well, and you made a great point earlier, too, because art, I think intrinsically, is for artists, people who love it, people who are moved by it, people who feel. And I don't know any art collectors, so I'm totally talking out my ass, which is super fun on Friday. But do you think that art collectors really give a shit because they're moved, or are they just, it's rare, it's prestigious, I can resell it for this amount? It doesn't seem to be part of the artist's original intention. It's just about collecting something.
Yeah, I think that it's a business. I think that they see it as an investment. There are those individuals. If it's really just about enjoying the beauty of the art, I mean, they wouldn't
Give it
care as
away.
much. Yeah. I mean, look, I have stuff hanging on my walls in my apartment, right? Stuff that I bought at Target. And I love it because it's something pretty to look at. It spices up my apartment a little bit. That's the only reason why I'm interested in any type of art. I don't care if it's the original. I don't care if it's a fake, right? But for a lot of people, they're investing millions of dollars because they think they're going to resell it for millions more. And it's ridiculous.
So I'm somewhere in the middle on that, because I think the art industrial complex has convinced themselves about all their they believe it, they've internalized it. They look at it and they go, oh, la, la, la. And so when someone says, hey, you idiot, it turns out that's not even the guy who made, oh, shit, right? Right? And then part of it is the profit motive. So who do they sell it to then? Remember the story about Steve Wynn, the obnoxious Republican donor who owns Wynn
All of
casinos,
Vegas, yeah.
half of Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And he had this art on the wall, and he's bragging and showing it off, and then he puts his elbow through it. Okay, and he's like, right now that should be ruined, right? Because now the original artist can't come back and fix the painting.
Right.
But the guy is the one who paid $100 million. They don't care. They just came back. They just brush it over, and they declared it perfectly restored.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. The whole thing's bullshit. And part of the point is, of course, to trick the idiot Steve Wynns of the world. I mean, he's giving money away anyway. He's like, I don't know, I'll give it to Mitt Romney. I'll give it to your painting, whatever. I'm rich. I have a Picasso.